Hello, my name is Jacqueline Brady, and in this presentation, I'll be talking about Eugene Sandow's influence on modern yoga. This form of physical yoga is sometimes called postural yoga, transnational Anglophone yoga, or Hatha yoga, but for simplicity here, I mostly refer to it as modern yoga. I argue that Sandow's system, especially his emphasis on muscular concentration, is a probable root of the mindful movement practiced in yoga studios and gyms today. But before I begin, I want to thank the NASH conference organizers and everyone taking the time to watch this. I hope you find it useful. My thesis is that Eugene Sandow's foundational and well-known instruction to concentrate deeply on muscle contractions during movement is a root of modern yoga. Here we see Sandow doing one of his posing routines, filmed for Edison. As it relates to my thesis, I want to emphasize that these posing routines were not merely spectacular displays of Sandow's impressive physique, but also demonstrations of muscle control. They highlighted his intense focus and deliberate command over every movement and muscular contraction. In doing so, Sandow illustrates how mind and body work together to powerful effect, showing the mind-body connection that's now central to modern yoga. Sandow's influence on physical culture is largely uncontested, and most of you know that he's widely recognized as, quote, the father of modern bodybuilding, and that he was once considered the world's most perfectly developed man. He is really the first strong man to move beyond the music hall to build a global physical culture brand in what was then the new marketplace of the international health and fitness industry. Here we see Sandow in both his early incarnation as sideshow strongman and then in his later role as exercise influencer, expert, entrepreneur. As David Chapman, Dominique Murray, and others have shown, Sandow's success in building a fitness brand was extensive. His accomplishments included publications, his books and magazines of physical culture, exercise equipment such as his combined developer depicted here, wellness products like his health corset and strength cocoa, his physical culture schools in Great Britain and postal course which circulated internationally, publicity campaigns, including his great bodybuilding competition and his world tours, and all the media coverage and advertisements that circulated in connection to the Sandow brand. I assume many of you are familiar with Sandow's staggering success and worldwide influence, as this slide is meant to evidence, but I review it here to make the point that taken altogether, these attainments ensured wide distribution of Sandow's ideas, and his important axiom, to focus on the muscle being worked, became widely known and, I argue, carried into modern yoga where echoes of it are still heard today. While Sandow's influence on the history of physical culture is largely uncontested, his impact on modern yoga is more controversial. Joseph Alter, in his book Yoga in Modern India, claimed that Sandow had a greater influence on modern yoga than Aurobindo or Vivekananda, but he does not substantiate this point. Mark Singleton's book Yoga Body develops this argument, showing that postural yoga partly emerged from colonial India's dialogical encounter with global physical culture. He cites Sandow's popularity in India, his successful 1905 tour there, and the lasting impression Sandow made on would-be yogis such as Bishnu Ghosh, who would blend yoga, bodybuilding, and muscle control, K.V. Iyer, who would sell his blend of physical culture and yoga back to the West, and T. Krishnamacharya, who is considered the inventor or father of modern postural yoga. This is K.V. Iyer's book, Perfect Physique, which he dedicates to Sandow, calling him, quote, an eternal source of inspiration. And here we see photographs of Sandow at the top and below Krishnamacharya on the left and Iyer on the right in what look like nearly identical postures. Are they Sandow's chest expanding exercise or yoga's Chaturanga Dandasana? The strong similarity across these photos makes it tempting to focus on physical poses as the main evidence of Sandow's influence, but I want to shift our attention to the shared discursive framework that obtains between Sandow's system and modern yoga. This discursive overlap may be an equally, if not more, significant site of cross-fertilization. Mark Singleton points to this in his discussion of Sandow's muscular Christianity. He suggests that this religious framework, which linked physical perfection to ideals of God and nation, was readily absorbed by Indian Hindu nationalist yogi physical culturists. They incorporated it into their own traditions with relative ease, adapting it to a context in which physical postures are performed in the parlance of today's yogis to align with the divine. In this slide, we see Sandow invoking the heroic lineage of the European gladiator, and next to him Iyer honoring the Hindu god Shiva. What's striking here is how different ideologies, Sandow's eugenic Eurocentrism and Iyer's Hindu nationalism, could both be mapped onto the muscular male body. Likewise, Sandow's bedrock concept, the importance of focusing the mind on muscular movement, was easily adapted across contexts from muscular Christian physical culture to Hindu nationalist yoga. Sandow's method rested on a simple instruction: concentrate on the muscles being worked. In his first book, he calls this his chief injunction, insisting that the mind builds the body. He repeats the instruction to concentrate closely on muscular movement and reiterates the connection between mind and body throughout his works. In testimonials, such as Claude Barton's letter from 1899, praising Sandow's system for increasing willpower and general concentration. In entire book sections, like Exercising Mind and Muscle from Life as Movement, where the word concentration appears 21 times, and in Sandow's well-received lectures and muscle control demonstrations widely covered in the press. Together, these consistently reinforce his central claim: building muscles requires focused mental engagement. Reports from his India tour suggest that Sandow's mindful bodybuilding method resonated strongly. For instance, the Military Gazette described him as the intellectual hero of Bengali students, noting their embrace of his doctrine of a sound mind in a sound body. Sandow also designed equipment to support his principle. His spring grip dumbbells provided, quote, a definite point upon which to concentrate. By maintaining pressure on the grips, users were encouraged to direct attention to the contraction itself, strengthening both willpower and the connection between brain and muscle. At its basis, Sandow's theory, he called it the law of movement, was a retooling of the Lamarckian law of exercise. The idea was that using a body part, such as the brain or the bicep, would enhance it, while disuse would diminish it. With this, Sandow argued that by exercising the mind and body simultaneously, his method improved the entire human form and every system in it, producing, quote, equal health for every cell. And with this framework, Sandow claimed that only his brain and body building system could bring about head-to-toe wellness, inside and out, from the surface of the skin to the internal organs. In Sandow's exercise instructions, as in modern yoga, directions on concentration, like the ones we see here, were never too far from those regarding breath. His guidance on the correct habits of breathing closely resembles techniques taught in yoga today, and he includes breathing exercise, like those depicted here, which emphasize diaphragmatic breathing, full inhalation and controlled exhalation. He instructs, take full long breaths, not short gasping ones, retaining the breath briefly in the lungs and air passages to expand the ribs, then expel the air slowly and completely, assisted, if necessary, by gentle pressure on the abdomen. Any discussion of the influences on modern yoga is incomplete without mentioning Swami Vivekananda, a contemporary of Sandow on American soil in 1893. Both foreigners made notable appearances in connection with the World's Columbian Exposition, Vivekananda at the Parliament of the World's Religions, and Sandow at Florence Ziegfeld's Trocadero Theater. Vivekananda is often credited for introducing yoga to the West, but consider this image. It shows Vivekananda practicing his form of yoga, his Raja Yoga, and it looks little like the postural or muscular images of the yogis we saw earlier. In the United States, where Vivekananda cultivated patronage among devout Victorian women, many of them single or widowed, he rejected hatha yoga asanas and any strong focus on the body or body movement. His approach to yoga centered on seated meditation and breathing exercise and emphasized communion with Brahman or universal consciousness. He also downplayed, at least in his American lectures, the value of cultivating a healthy body for longevity. Ultimately, Vivekananda's messages about the importance of the healthy physical body are mixed at best. Still, there are intriguing overlaps with Sandow's thinking that merit further exploration, particularly around the importance of mental discipline. Notably, the concept of concentration appears repeatedly in Vivekananda's lectures, underscoring a shared emphasis on the power of focused attention, albeit toward different ends. For Vivekananda, concentration, cultivated in seated meditation like this, was a way to transcend the body and mind and achieve a blissful superconsciousness. Whereas for Sandow, concentration, cultivated while performing muscular movement, was a practical way to bring about health, well-being, and lasting good character. To be fair to the long history of yoga, both breath control and concentration are limbs of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, the central philosophical text embraced by Indian yogis, including Vivekananda and Krishnamacharya. In his 1934 work, The Essence of Yoga, Krishnamacharya writes that the aim of yoga is to withdraw the mind from external activity, turn it inward, and cultivate deep concentration. There is no yoga, he maintains, without a disciplined mind. Yet his framing of the purpose for concentration, emphasizing strength, health, and happiness, aligns more closely with Eugene Sandow's wellness-focused physical culture than with Vivekananda's more samadhi-oriented Raja Yoga. Krishnamacharya underscores these wellness benefits directly when he states that the strength, health, and happiness gained through yogic mental discipline far exceed, quote, more than 1,000-fold those derived from ordinary sleep. So, to briefly recap my argument, 1. Eugene Sandow was internationally famous and his image, products, and ideas circulated widely. 2. His tour of India was highly successful and left a strong impression on those who would later promote postural yoga. And 3, his central directive to focus the mind on muscular movement along with awareness of the breath was widely known and well respected. And so, if yoga scholars like Joseph Alter and Mark Singleton are right, and I think they are, that Sandow significantly influenced modern yoga, then that influence can be found in the pervasive emphasis on mindful, breath-focused movement that we see in yoga today. A full exploration of present-day yoga is beyond the scope of this presentation, but even a simple Google search like the one shown here demonstrates how broadly normalized mindful movement and focused concentration, like that taught by Sandow, have become in modern yogic instruction. Sandow's insight that much depends on the conscious concentration of the mind upon the muscles being moved continues to echo throughout studios and gyms across the yoga industry, helping to sustain its vitality and underscoring the enduring power of movement done when mind and body work together. Thank you.